All right, today we're going to talk about the option for secondary area. This is something that confuses a lot of people, and the people that it doesn't confuse probably just don't know that it's even there. Where you find the option for secondary area is when you hit start and you bring up this screen here and you have main area, which is what the majority of the people will use and should use almost all the time. Every now and then, though, you do have cases based on a more complex installation or stuff going on in your lawn where you might be able to or be forced to use secondary area. So we'll go down here right under main area to secondary area. We got the little dot filled in there. It's highlighted. We'll hit OK. Then you got the options of mowing until empty battery, mowing 30 minutes, and mowing 90 minutes. You're going to put the mower in that secondary area and hit start after you choose one of these options. If you pick 30 minutes, the mower will mow for 30 minutes and just shut off where it's at. Same way if you pick mowing for 90 minutes. If you pick mowing until empty battery, then obviously it's going to mow until it just runs out of battery. So the whole point of the secondary area is that it's a way to use the mower in an area where the mower can't get there by itself from the charging station. And once it is there mowing, it can't get back to the charging station on its own. You have to physically pick up the mower and place it in the secondary area, and you have to physically remove it from the secondary area. And when I say secondary area, and you have to pick it up, and you have to move it there, and you have to move it back, the secondary area has to have a boundary wire around it connected into the main area. It has to have a part of that loop system running around here, or the mower will not pick up any kind of signal and it will not be able to mow in that area. It'll just sit there and tell you that it's outside the working area. So we're going to give you a couple of scenarios here of where the secondary area setting can be used, should be used, and why it should be used. And going to give you one as to why you should kind of shy away from it in a certain situation. And hopefully this helps to clear up the confusion with this setting and what it really means and what it really does. All right, here's a layout that I came up with here as a way to show you where the secondary area setting would be useful. We have driveway coming in, we have a house, we have like a patio, deck area, whatever, leading into a swimming pool, which is inside a fenced-in area, which has grass around it. In blue, we have our main area, our mowing area here for the mower. We have the wires going across the driveway so the mower can cross from over in here and get this patch over here in the front yard. And on the side of the house, whether the property line's too close, there's a flower bed, there's a hill, there's shrubs, whatever. The mower can't cross from here in the backyard to here in the front yard. So that's why we're going across the driveway. So charging station back here. Now the first one is the grass right here inside this fenced-in area around your swimming pool. You have a patio or deck, like I was saying here, and a fence around the rest of it. You need to mow this grass. Now you could cut the fence, put in a little swinging area there in the fence where the mower could pass through on its own, but you don't really have any control then, or not as much control, I should say, as to when the mower is able to get into this area. And a spot like this, it might not need mowed that often. So it's not worth it to have, a spare push mower or something to go in here and mow all this. You have let's say a 430X or a 450X, and it takes care of all this, and it could easily do this area in here in no time. So you set this up as a secondary area. So when you lay out your wire around here, you're going to bring your boundary wire up to the fence and then run it, under the fence, through the fence, whatever, and continue your boundary wire inside here in this area. For a secondary area, you have to have a boundary wire in there for the mower to be able to follow and know where to stop and be able to run. Otherwise, if you just took the wire across here and you put this mower in here, then it would just run into whatever in there or end up going in the pool. There'd be nothing to stop it on this side, unless you had some kind of like a lip there or something that would smack into all the time. So that's why we're running the wire in here. We're just going to say that this patio area is, ground level, and the mower could easily run up on it. You don't want your mower running in the swimming pool. So you have your wire going around there. You could also have your boundary wire continue around this whole thing. And then right here, you would run the wire in, and you can go around the inside of the fence as well if you don't want the mower running into the fence. But what you're gonna have happen here is you're gonna pick the mower up, you're gonna set it inside here. When you go to power the mower on, instead of selecting main area, you're gonna select secondary area, and you're gonna choose how long you want it to run, whether it's half an hour until the battery goes dead or whatever. The mower's gonna go around in here, and it will stop at the boundary wire. It'll back up. It's do its thing. It'll bounce into the fence and keep mowing. And when it's done, once it hits that selected time frame where it was supposed to mow, it just stops. That's it. You pick it up, bring it back out here, turn it to main area, and when it's time for it to mow again, it just does its thing. Now, like I said, an area like this might have to be mowed at often, so rather than going through the hassle of cutting a hole in your fence or having another piece of equipment to mow that, just as easy to pick this up, once a week or once every other week, to let it in there for a half an hour to an hour or something like that to do the job. Now, as I was saying, you could also run the boundary the whole way around the fence and then come back in and go around the fence in here, so the mower would stop at the boundary wire rather than running into the fence if you're worried about your fence. That's doable. This way here saves you a little bit of time, and in a scenario like I'm presenting where the patio is at ground level and the mower could easily run up on it and into your pool, you don't want that happening. So that's why you don't want to have the wire just going straight across here or something like that and have this all be open with no boundary to stop it from getting to the swimming pool. If you didn't put this wire in here and you just ran the wire around the fence and think, well, it's got a fence, I'll just close the gate. There's no way for it to get out. I'll just let it run in there. If you don't have the boundary wire inside this fenced area and you have it going around the outside of it, it's going to see this as an island, and it's not going to pick up any signal. It's going to think it's actually outside the working area, and it won't work in there. So this is one of the easiest ways right here to do this. Pretty time saving, and saves you some money. Like I said, you don't have to have the fancy gate. You don't have to cut your fancy fence around your pool. You don't have to buy another piece of equipment. You just pick the mower up, choose secondary area, put it in there, and let it do its thing. Now, another example of where the secondary area setting comes in handy is, let's say that you have some yard work going on in the back of your yard here, and for whatever reason, like right through here, this is torn up. You got some excavation work going on or whatever. You don't want the mower going through there. So your mower is mowing the main area. It can get all this here. It can cross through the driveway, get this here, but you've got this area over here because you can't cross through. What you can do is you put a barrier right here. You put a barrier right there. When you want to mow this area over here, you do the same thing. You pick the mower up, you set it over there, you select secondary area, and whatever time frame you want to mow for, and it mows and it does its thing and then it just stops. Then again, you pick it up, you bring it back over here, turn on to main area, and it does all of this around through here just like normal. What a lot of people will end up doing, and this is problematic for them later on, is they'll say, well, this is all the main area. Just because I have it blocked off there, it doesn't make a difference. I'm just going to put it here and turn it on. It's going to, under main area, and it's going to mow and do what it's supposed to do. What happens when you select main area, whether it's inside here or over here, anywhere where it can't get back to the charging station, you run the risk of your yard just being destroyed. And you wonder, what am I talking about? How could that happen? The scenario is you have it main area. It's going to come back here. When it's time to go back to the charging station, whether it's following the guide wire, the boundary wire, whatever, it's going to get to this boundary and it can't get through. And it'll start getting desperate, wanting to go through, and it might circle around again and follow the boundary wire. And it's still going to keep coming back here, and it's going to be turning, and it's going to be trying to go this way, and it can't do it. Before you know it, it's got all the grass torn up in here, just completely destroyed and chewed up. It might even do the same thing at this fence because it's trying to pick up that boundary wire in there. when it's inside of here, you could select main area too. It would be an option and it would mow, but you'd have the same issue. It would be trying to get back to the charging station and it would keep running into the fence, and it would just destroy that grass there at the fence. And in a case like this, if this corner right here was close enough to where the mower could pick up the signal from the charging station, that charging station, as you know, the signal coming from it takes priority over everything. So that mower would just sit here and it would just keep running into that fence and it would back up, and it wouldn't want to leave this corner because it was trying to be drawn in directly through there. It wouldn't know that there's a fence there, it wouldn't know what was going on, and it would just ruin that grass right there. So when you pick secondary area, it does its thing and it just stops. It knows that there is no possible way for it to get back to the charging station on its own, and you don't have that issue with it just destroying the grass. Same way with over here, it'll mow all this area. You know, it can bump into your boundary you have there and no issues. Of course, on this side, you have the boundary here. It's going to bump into everything, keep going, and it'll be easily able to get back to the charging station on its own because it's all open. So that's why it's always better to choose the secondary area setting than the main area setting when you have places like this in your lawn, in your work area, or things arise like this where, you know, you would have some work going on here and this part of your yard is cut off and you can't get over here to mow all this. Now you could also do the same thing. This happens in some housing developments and stuff like that, where the way the property is set up, where you have no way to get from the backyard to a front yard piece right here, and you don't want to cross the driveway. So you would have to have your wires come down along through here somewhere. You have to have the wires there to form a boundary, like I was saying here, in order to have it be a secondary area. So I'll show you here what I'm talking about. You get rid of these wires here crossing the driveway, and now our loop is right there and right there. And even though this area here is too small for the Automower to get through, what you would do is you would still have to run the wires to get to there. Now, it'd be too small for the Automower to cross through there. You know, they're going to be, you know, like maybe 2 or 3 inches from each other. And there's just no way for that wire to get, or that mower to get through there. And you could also do the same thing down here too. If you had a seam across your driveway, just run them across there, and then this would open back up again. But what I'm getting at is, now you have this area right here where it'd be a secondary area. You have your wires coming through. So this is an open area. It's part of the it's connected into the main area. But you would probably choose this for a secondary area when you go to start the mower to mow in there, just because of the fact I was telling you about there, where it would be frantically trying to search for a way to get back home. And eventually it would just start chewing up parts of the lawn because it knows that this is the way I've got to go. You know, this is the way the boundary wire goes, you know, and over in here, it would just destroy this part of the yard, just trying to figure out how it's supposed to get through there to get back to here. So you choose secondary area, it moves out here, it does its thing, and it just stops. The thing I don't like about this, though, in a situation like this, is yes, it'll work. It's a good way around not cutting your driveway, not having the mower cross the driveway, but you run the chance of the mower being right out here in this corner and just stopping. So then what happens? You know, if you don't see it stop, there's always the potential somebody can come up, somebody can mess with it. And if there is an incline here in any of these areas, when the mower stops, it stops. You know, just like it would be out of bounds, or if it stops because the batteries are too hot or too cold, or the boundary system wire breaks or anything like that, it stops. When the mower shuts off, what happens? That's right, it'll free roll. So if there's an incline here and it stops out here, and this is a little bit of a slope, it can just take off that slope, possibly end up out in the road. Not going to talk you out of setting it up that way if that is your only option and you feel comfortable with it, but just consider that, you know, The secondary area option is a good option for a lot of the stuff I showed you here and many others. But the one in the front yard, if there's a bit of an incline or you live out in the middle of nowhere and somebody just come around the corner and pick up your mower and run, might not be the best option for you. So definitely a lot of positives to using that feature, and that's why they have it. But there are some drawbacks as well. Now, another thing that people will use that secondary area setting for is, like I said here at the fence area. If you have an area set up for your kids to play in, where you got a fence around it, people will do that as well. They don't want to cut a hole in the fence. Maybe they have a dog or something, that runs around in there too, and they know that their dog is smart enough that when the mower goes to go through, the dog will chase it out through there and get out before the fence closes. Whatever the reason may be, but a lot of people will use that secondary area setting for that because, again, it cuts down on the mower just trying to run through the fence and trying to find a way back home. It just knows to just stop, shut down, and wait for somebody to come get it. So, a couple examples there of where to use the secondary area setting, how to use the secondary area setting, and hopefully that answers a lot of questions that you guys have had about that. So one other thing I'll point out here, just to really try to clear this up, the whole secondary area thing and what it's used for and how it's used. I've ran into a lot of people over the years. Let's get rid of this here, that have tried to use this feature the wrong way because they think it means something different than what it is. And what they do is they confuse it with the different zone settings. And let's say you have your guide wires and boundary wires going out there, and you have area 1, area 2, if this was connected across here, and you would have like area 3. They would think that secondary area would mean, oh, okay, the mower's not getting over here enough. This grass isn't getting mowed enough. So I'm going to put it over here, and now I'm going to choose secondary area. And the mower would mow around, and it would, in this case here, when it's open like this, and you can come across the driveway, they would start the mower there, and it would do its thing, and it would just kind of mow across into wherever. And because they were picking for it to mow for like a half an hour, or the battery's dead, then the mower would just die. And they'd go out and pick it up, bring it back here. They'd say, "Oh, that area's still not getting mowed as much. The mower's not going over there." Pick it back up, put it back over here, pick secondary area. Out here, they find the mower dead out here, and they don't know why. They don't know why it's dead in the backyard. That's why. Secondary area is not your areas and zones that you set up in the method of mowing. And this is when you turn GPS mowing off. If you have an X series mower and you can set up your different zones and areas, this is what I'm talking about. They would confuse secondary area with that whole system of mowing. So, not the same thing. That's not how it works. The way secondary area works is it's used when the mower can't navigate the mowing area on its own to get to a spot that it needs to mow, and cannot get from that spot back to the charging station on its own. That is a secondary area. All this other stuff, that's all connected, and the mower can travel freely on its own and get to the charging station and to the areas it needs to get to. That is all main area. Now, secondary area, you can have more than one secondary area, like I just showed you in that other example where we had the yard blocked off back here. The mower can't get through there because you got some construction going on, and you're going to make this a secondary area now, so it'll mow out here without tearing your grass all up, and you have this as a secondary area. You could add another one too. Secondary areas are just anything that's not the main area. So there would be no secondary area, third area, fourth area in that regard. The only thing you can have is main area and a secondary area where the mower can't travel back and forth to and from the charging station on its own. So hopefully I didn't make this too confusing, and hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. And that's why I prefer that people talk about, this kind of mowing, that not the non-GPS mowing. It's easier if you refer to them as zones, because then customers and people that aren't that familiar with the Automowers don't get that confused with your area 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a secondary area. If you need any more help with this, don't hesitate to ask. Send us an email to roboticmowerservices@gmail.com. We'll be happy to walk you through this or explain it a little bit better if we lost you somewhere along the way. And as always, if you need any parts or looking for any kind of help with your Automowers, roboticmowerservices@gmail.com. Send us an email, check out our Facebook page, leave some comments on the video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And we're here to help. So anything you need, just let us know and we'll do the best we can to help you out. All right. Thanks for watching.